Should
You're
I
on.
wait for like 2 seconds?
Nope, you're on.
Okay. So I want you guys to take a look at this, and I want to see, do you think this is beautiful? Raise your hand if you think this is beautiful. A couple of you. Raise your hand if you think this inspires you. A couple of you. This is for the girls. Raise your hand if you'd wear this. A couple of you. So, at the end of my presentation, not only will you learn how to recognize the craftsmanship that goes into making these designs, but you also learn how to appreciate the full force fashion has in fostering change. It's my task to convince you that this right here is art, and that yes, fashion does matter. Through my project, we're going to look at this through three different lenses. I looked at 4 different designers: John Galliano, Alexander McQueen, Karl Lagerfeld, and Ray Kawakubo, and we're going to look at how design and fashion and the technicalities that go into creating these designs, how fashion and culture cross over and how they intertwine, and how fashion affects you, and how you can use fashion to foster change. So let's take a closer look at this design. The bodice right here is made out of leather and wood, and it's all handcrafted. It took 2 months to make. The lacing right here across the chest is twine intertwined that was handmade, and it has this feeling of surgical stitchings. Then you look in the middle, and this right here is reminiscent of medical corsetry that women used in the 19th and 18th centuries to make their waists thinner to appeal to men. Then you take a look down, and there's a high contrast between the top, the bodice, and the bottom, where it's inspired by flamenco dancers from Spain. And then what you see here, you think are leather boots, but in actuality, it's prosthetic legs carved out of elm. This model right here is called Amy Mullins, and she opened the show for Alexander McQueen Spring 1999 collection. She's a paraplegic Olympic athlete. With this design, McQueen is questioning the norms of beauty and whether we can look at someone disabled and truly say they're incapable to do things. With the surgical stitching, he shows how women throughout centuries have changed their bodies to appeal to men, to fit the standard of beauty. He questions whether women can be strong and erectile like the bodice makes them, and feminine and beautiful like a lace dress. He makes women beautiful but terrifying at the same time. But then we question, why should we care? Why should Alexander McQueen do this? What gives him the right to say this? Alexander McQueen grew up in East London, where he was constantly surrounded by violence, poverty, and injustice. He himself was a gay man and was constantly put into this marginalized group, looked as inferior to others. So his goal throughout all of his collections was to give a voice to those who are silenced, forgotten. One of his main inspirations for his designs is Jack the Ripper. Throughout all of his collections, he's memorializing the prostitutes that were murdered, that were considered below society, and that weren't at all mourned for. Then we say, let's take a step back further. What gives him the platform to say these things? The 90s. The 90s was full of anti-establishment movements. We have the punk movement. This is from the Riot Girl movement. It started in Washington, D.C., where women sang punk to talk about female empowerment, issues such as rape, domestic abuse, patriarchy. Then we have the rap movement, where it gave a platform for African Americans to talk about their issues, like poverty, institutionalized racism. The 90s was all about not fitting the norms, about breaking standards and being unique. So this is where you play a role. Next time you look in the mirror and you put on your clothes or your dress or your shirt, just remember, a shirt is never just a shirt. There's always a story behind it.
Great, thank you.